Okay, we are live. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Miss G, Miss Georgette Truen, and Mr. G, Mr. Darren Gual. How are
All
both
right.
of you doing today? Miss G still thinks we read lips.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Darren, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good, Mr. Davis. I'm excited to hear what you got to say today.
Doing okay. How
Okay.
about
I'm
you?
ready. I'm ready for the knowledge.
Okay, and I see we have a guest, Nicole Schuler. Nicole, how are you? Nicole?
Oh, she just got real fast.
I'm I'm fine. I'm sorry. You keep cutting in and out.
Okay,
Yes,
maybe
sir. Can you hear me?
we have a bad internet connection.
Hmm.
So what state are you from, Nicole?
You're cutting in and out on my end.
The,
I'm from
Okay,
Arkansas.
all right, Nicole, this is what I'm going to do. Apparently you're having some internet difficulties. I'm going to take you off and have Grace try to contact you to solve those problems. And our other guest, Lorraine, I think we lost her, and because she's gone for 20 minutes. So stand by, Nicole, okay? Oh, um, Lorraine's here. So we substitute in Lorraine. How are you, Lorraine?
I'm good. How are you?
there's
Good.
Larry.
So where
Loud
are
and clear.
you? What state are you from, Lorraine?
Illinois.
All right. So what's going on with CPS in Illinois?
Oh, a whole bunch. It has to start with mental health issues, for one. Mental health issues in Illinois aren't the best for kids under the age of 12.
Say that again.
I said mental health issues in Illinois for kids under the age of 12 are horrible.
So how did you get involved with CPS and what has been going on?
So my daughter is 10. This all started when she was about 6. She was having issues. Got her diagnosed. Medicine made her go a little crazy where she tried to stab all of us, put her in a facility, but they had to let her out. Then we ended up figuring out that she was bipolar. So then she was having episodes. It doesn't affect her at school because she holds it together. So then she comes home and she just lets it out. So she would have it where I would tell her no for stuff where she would destroy my house. She would beat me up. She would beat her siblings up. So DCFS got tired of being called up to the hospital. So this was going on for a couple years already. So they finally intervened this past December, and they showed up to my house. They wanted to take my son. My son has a separate father. So he was here, but my son didn't go with them. They left my son here, but they went to school and they took my other two girls, my 10-year-old and my 6-year-old. They didn't show me any paperwork, no warrant, no nothing. My sister said that she could take them, so they brought him to my sister's house for the weekend and told me that we have court on Monday. And when we went to court on Monday, they gave me my 6-year-old daughter back, but they kept my 10-year-old and took my rights away from her. She ended up staying with my sister for a week until my dad stepped in, and now my dad has her. A lot of family issues. I don't have communication with my sister anymore because she thinks I could have did more for my daughter in the mental health case wise, which I did, but you can only do so much when you're a 10-year-old. Then she started telling lies about my husband, who is her stepfather. She thinks this is all a fun game, that she could just be, this is a vacation pretty much, being at my dad's house, because she doesn't have any rules or regulations and stuff over there. She gets away with everything. Over here, we have rules. So I'm fighting to get her back. They said they were going to help get her better so she can come back home. They haven't even put her in any of her stuff that she needs. I did get her re-diagnosed in March. She is no longer bipolar, but it's autism now. So they haven't put her in AB therapy. They have her in regular counseling. They want us to do family counseling, but they said whenever she's ready. I said she's been in counseling for years and she's never ready for family counseling because she doesn't take it serious. So they have her in the wrong programs. I haven't seen her in a couple months. We had a regular worker, but he left. And then we got a supervisor who basically told me that I need to give all my attention and time to my 10-year-old and pretty much put my other 2 kids in the back seat.
What was the reasoning for that?
Because my child, the 10-year-old's the middle child, and she suffers from middle child syndrome. Because she's the problem child. She needs mommy's attention. And I'm like, but when she comes home, she's not going to have all my attention. So why give her all my attention now? So then it came to the point where the lady who is a supervisor is our caseworker, because they're very short staff here in our town because everybody keeps quitting. Told me that my kids can't come to visitations to see their sister. And we were at the library and I was like, I told this lady, she's basically using everything I told her against me. I told her I don't have a babysitter. My husband doesn't get home till 6. So she's using the time against me. She's using a different place against me. We were at the library, perfectly fine. Now she switched it to DCF office, which I don't trust them to go there. They're not letting my other kids come with because they want to make it just about me and my daughter, the 10-year-old, and I have no one to watch the other kid. So I brought him to court with all that. I was done with my service plans. I had a nonviolent screening, a domestic nonviolent screening that was 3 hours. It came back that I was like a false positive, like I was lying or I'm in denial and stuff like that. And now the supervisor put her 2 cents in it because the whole report was perfectly fine until that supervisor put her 2 cents into it. And now they want me to get a psych evaluation and do all these other extra classes. So we have a thing that was going on tomorrow. I've been emailing her almost every day, and she just let me know. She's like, I told you every week that visitation's at the office.
How long have the children been out of your care?
The 10-year-old? Since December. The other 2's been at home with me the whole time.
And why doesn't the 10-year-old, what was the rationale they used to keep the 10-year-old out of your custody?
I don't have paperwork. Nobody's giving me paperwork. I've even asked my lawyer. My lawyer's like, oh, I haven't even asked for paperwork. Usually they give me it.
Have you gone to the court clerk's office and tried to get copies of the paperwork?
I got summons and stuff like that, but it doesn't state anything in there of the reason why they took her. But they found me and my husband as a non-fault.
As a what?
As a non-fault. They're not faulting us of any neglect or anything.
Okay, so what I want you to do is take your government-issued ID and go to the clerk's office tomorrow and order a copy of your file so you can review it.
Okay.
And figure out what's going on. because Lorraine, what you're telling me, I mean, I believe you, but it doesn't make sense with respect to how things are supposed to proceed.
Mm.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, because now they're trying to use a case that backs the date of August. And I'm like, you guys were using a whole different incident that happened, but now they can't use that evidence because the judge was like, no, you can't use any of that because that's how. So now they're trying to keep my daughter by using a different case.
What do you mean? I don't follow you there.
So we had a open case, I guess, in August. I never knew anything about it until we got paperwork that says that we were found it. That they said that my daughter went to camp crying that I hit her in her back and stuff like that. But then it states there was no bruising or welting or anything on her back. And then summer camp actually took a picture of her on a water slide, and it's the picture of her back. And I'm like, it's on the front cover of the camp. There's nothing on her back. So they're just I didn't even know anything that there was even an open case. And we even had an intact worker, and nobody's even told me anything that was reported.
Mr. Guai, Mr. G, what do you think?
It doesn't surprise me, Mr. Davis. Like when the people have, like you have the 3 kids, right? You've got the 3 kids, 2 of them are staying at home. They're taking the one that obviously had already had mental issues, because they've said this. So, so that they can keep their things rolling. They keep that child. I mean, we're seeing a ton of this. I mean, we saw it in my case where they just, stop visitation with parents, like, and not, by a judge ordered or any of this stuff. I mean, you're seeing that more and more. I mean, I don't know, Mr. Davis, you're the one that's in the courtroom, but I mean, are you hearing and are you seeing them? Like, the visitation thing is huge because they're breaking the bond. They're also putting themselves in the position of jockeying themselves up to an abandonment, if you may.
Right, and that's what she put in there. She was like, you're abandoning it.
And so, and I know in my case, the public defender said, oh, well, it'll take too much time. It'll take too much time. Well, a year went by. So like, what do you say about that? How do you attack the visitation thing? First of all, I guess, Mr. Davis.
Well, to attack it, you have to file something, a motion or petition that they use in your state. But it doesn't sound like you're getting too much assistance, legal assistance from your.
I actually had to call his supervisor so they can get on his butt about my case. And when we went in the court, my husband was like, are you on our side, or like, what's going on? Like, if you're not going to be on our side, then you don't need to be here.
That's not even more or less
Like,
about
you're
size.
just,
It's like just doing some work for you. I would say if your
he's
lawyer's
not doing anything.
yeah, I would say go and ask the judge for a new attorney, possibly. I mean, that's.
And then on top of it, my daughter has Social Security. They stopped her. They have her Social Security in a fund. And I don't know if you've ever seen the news in the last month or two that Illinois took this girl's money that was piled up to repay CPS.
What do you mean piled up?
So she had a fund that all her Social Security and disability and stuff went into a checking account. So when she got to a certain age and released from CPS or whatever it is, before they gave her that money, they paid CPS first. It was in the news and everything. And then
They took it from the minor herself?
I don't know if she was a minor anymore at that time. Well, that whole time that she was a minor, yeah.
Does she have an attorney where she's trying to sue to get the money back?
I think so. That's what was in the news, that she's trying to get her money back because it was like, because her mom or dad passed away, like that type of money that was set aside. So when she reached a legal age or something, she gets that money, and she went to go get it, and it wasn't there because DCFS paid themselves.
I wonder if they had some type of judgment against her.
I know they're taking my daughter's money is just sitting in an account, so I don't know if it's going to be back to me or what's going to happen with it. They are taking her child support and paying themselves because my dad's not getting any money for her, and he's scrapping money to even take care of her.
When the child is placed with your dad,
Yes.
well, I think he's supposed to get funding for taking care of the child.
Oh, yeah, he decided to go get a car with that money and do that because I just got a phone call from Aaron's Furniture that he's not paying his bills.
But is he getting money from the county or the state?
Yeah, I believe so because now he has a new brand car. He has a new car.
Okay.
Because before my daughter went over there, I was actually taking care of him, giving him money for bills and stuff like that. So, but then I was also told that my daughter should have a disability attorney or something inside court. And we asked about that, and they we don't have that in our building. So somebody told me I need to go down to Social Security and let them know that they're not doing the disability act for my daughter.
Wow. There's a lot of
Yeah.
you got a lot of things going on there. I mean, that's just, yeah. I mean,
and then I just found out my dad is a molester, sex offender, but never caught.
You just found out this about your dad?
Yes, I found out from my mom.
Holy
My mother's deceased, and my aunt, which is my mom's younger sister, I told her that my daughter was with him, and she was like, "You need to get him from her." He molested me from the age of 12 to 18 and got her pregnant.
Right, but you know that in these instances, there gets to be a lot of dung flung, if you will, around with the families and people saying this, that, or the other about that. What a lot of people do is they get themselves so engulfed in that their kids with a perpetrator at this point that they lose sight of the fact that they still have their own case against them with CPS, and they're going to spend all this time, because whether your daughter gets moved from your father's or not, your daughter's still not coming home. You still have to face, and this is where a lot of people get confused. They get themselves washed up in all of this other rigmarole. Next thing you know, you're at a TPR and you haven't done anything. You haven't spoke to anybody, and you're like, whoa, but this is, so, I don't know. True, probably, maybe. I don't know. That's your story, your family's things, but
right, exactly. That's why I was
on the prize before you start worrying about, I don't know, Mr. Davis. I'd say just start with trying to get a new attorney. Wouldn't you say there?
Well, it might be, but it's one of those things. I always tell you guys this before we jump to conclusions. Let's look at the file. Let's look at the minute order. It doesn't, obviously what she's telling us doesn't sound right. Maybe just from this story alone, get another lawyer, ask for another court-appointed lawyer or hire your own, but let's look at the file too. You said yourself, you don't even know what you're being charged with.
Right. I honestly don't. They said it was, like I said, it was something that happened. I don't know, because so much happens. She has episodes all the time. We were in and out of the hospital probably 3 times a week, and she's under the age of 10, and her episodes only last like 20 minutes. So the time paramedics take her, bring her to the hospital right down the street, it's over with, and she's asking for food and cookies and crayons. So when somebody comes and evaluates her to see if she can go into a facility to get better help, because the hospital only takes patients 12 and up, they pretty much tell me it's a behavioral issue and pass it along. But they have to contact DCFS, and they got tired of being contacted. So now I have a 6-year-old who cries all the time and PTSD from being removed. Mm-hmm. And my 10-year-old also has PTSD from seeing her beating her mom up. And I have cameras and everything in my house, and nobody's asked me for cameras, footage, anything.
Well, that's, your attorney should have been asking you for that if it provides, good evidence for you, right?
Yeah. Apparently I'm running this whole case by myself, because he's not even answering emails and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is This is just insane. Apparently, they don't care.
You know, I have a comment I'm trying to post. Hold on. Do you see this comment from Golden Mare?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She needs a copy of her file, and then we go from there.
Okay.
Okay. And, you know, I'm telling Grace, Grace is still listening, our producer, Grace, when she gets her file, and maybe I can talk to her off air, then we can come back and we can talk about this
Do I
case.
go to DCFS to get the file, or do I got to go to the juvenile court house, whatever it is?
Okay. As I mentioned before, you have to take your government issued ID
Uh-huh.
and go see the clerk of the court.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people think they can go to CPS and get their file, and sometimes they can. But CPS is not going to be, in my opinion, cooperative 100% of the time. And why would you want to go to a secondary source when you want something important like minute orders and court reports? You need to go to the source, the court file.
Okay.
I don't know what the law is in Illinois. Obviously, I'm not licensed there, but I would suspect that it's similar to California, and you can check with your attorney, but you're entitled to a copy of your file. Period. End of story.
Okay. Because his office is in there also.
What do you mean? Whose office?
The public defender.
Oh, and your guy's a public defender?
I guess they gave him to me.
Okay. Good. Well, just go down there and get your copy of your file.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Lorraine, I want to thank you for joining us from Illinois
Thank you.
this evening.
Thank
Thank you for calling in and sharing.
Thank you.
But I need you to get that file, and then we need to talk. We need to bring you back on the show so that we can give you some more information. Right?
Okay.
More information. So Grace will be contacting you.
Okay. Perfect.
Thanks again, Lorraine. Good night.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. G.
Whew. Holy Lord.
I'm gonna bring on our other guest, Nicole. Hey, Nicole, how are you?
I'm fine. Can y'all hear me okay now?
Oh yeah, and your picture's so much better.
Wow, that's a whole different thing right there.
What happened? You got a whole new internet connection.
Yes, the internet's perfect.
Yeah. I don't know why, but for some reason it works better on my cell phone than my computer.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Now, you are coming to us from where?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Little Rock. Are you a Clinton fan?
Come on now.
What?
I said, come on now. No, I'm actually about an hour, 15 minutes from Little Rock.
Okay. Now,
So
do the Clintons do they still live in Arkansas?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Do you ever go to their library? Isn't there libraries there? Isn't the presidential library there?
I went to the library to do my appeal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You did your own appeal?
Yeah, my first one I did. Well, you might as well say I did both of them because I discovered, in my appeal that the parent council for Arkansas, she actually wrote it up as if I was speaking, not her speaking. That was my second appeal, and it got dismissed. And there's no judge's signature on the appeal. It's just the DHS's attorney. That's it.
Well, wait a minute. Appeals are generally heard by, justices or judges. Are you saying that in Arkansas, that's not how they do an appeal?
I can email you a copy of my second appeal that got filed, and it was dismissed by DHS's attorney, not a judge.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yes.
It's always interesting to hear how the different states do things, right?
Well, I think they kind of do it how they want to do it. I've learned that the hard way.
So CPS, Arkansas, what got you involved with CPS?
Drugs. Me and my selfishness and putting drugs before my children. And I regret that every day of my life, but that does not mean that you take my kids from me and never let me see them again
Mm-hmm.
and act like I never existed and never give me a chance to be a mother to my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Were your rights terminated?
Yes, sir, they was. My rights were terminated whenever I was in rehab. Um, I wasn't even present at the hearing, the TPR hearing. I wasn't represented by counsel. I was preliminary present at the hearing, and we got kicked off. I've never been to an in-person court hearing except whenever my case went criminal because it's my own family's against me.
What do you mean?
My own sister and I'd say my mom. I can't too much say my dad. My dad's just basically said, I don't want to be a part of it. But in my eyes, you're my dad. That's your daughter too. You need to at least step up and be like, hey, that's your sister. Those are her kids. Those ain't your kids.
Where are the kids living?
They are actually with my sister. They allowed my sister to adopt my children.
So now they are your nieces and nephews then?
No, they are my children and always will be.
Well, I mean, just legally on paper.
Mm.
Yes, sir. And I don't even want to say legally on paper that they're my nieces and nephews because I've not signed nothing. I've never signed anything.
Hmm. Are you still in appeals trying to fight, or what's going on
No,
with them?
they dismissed and closed the case. They allowed my sister to adopt my children in February, and I only know that from an outside resource. I don't know it from the courts because I was not able to be present in that hearing either. I didn't know my rights were terminated until I got back from rehab in
Wow.
September 2022, and I had to. What my first appeal I filed was a belated appeal because I missed the deadline.
Did you have a court-appointed attorney assisting you?
I had a paid attorney, and I asked to be relieved from him because he was. Once he spoke with DHS, I could tell immediately, that he was not for me.
He changed sides, huh?
Real quick, really, really quick.
Hmm. Do
Yeah.
you ever hear about that happening, Mr. G?
About the attorney switching sides?
Well, your attorney seeming like he or she is not on your side.
Yeah. I've definitely. But here's the thing. I know how it feels to me. I know how it feels to her. But also, like you say, it's not as what it seems. We don't know how these attorneys and what they're faced against with their procedures and their tasks. I don't want to say that they are necessarily bad and against us, but we don't know what their strategies are. We don't know what they're faced against with evidence. Like we all want to say that we know what the law is and we read the common law books and we do this and we do that. But what these attorneys are, now I'm not defending them by any stretch. Don't get me wrong here, but there has to be a little bit of fat cut here for them because, we don't in these situations know, what they're facing. And also, most of the times they're not even family law attorneys or anything. So they don't even know what they're doing. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like it could be, like for instance, my attorney was a business law attorney. Like so they might be great lawyers, but they're not, like you say, a family law or a juvenile court attorney, and that's what's happening. I believe in a lot more of these cases. I don't think they're necessarily bad or not worthy or against you. I just don't think they know what they're doing. I mean, you wouldn't hire a attorney for financial stuff to, you know, serve next to you in one of these cases. I'm sure you would look for someone, right? Is that am I somewhere around the egg crate there, Mr.
Oh
Davis
yeah,
there?
absolutely, absolutely. You wouldn't want your podiatrist to do open heart surgery on you, right?
Right.
I get it. I get it. So, Nicole, this is something that I wanted to bring up to you. Have you ever talked to a civil rights attorney there in Arkansas?
No, I have not. I'm
Because
really looking for a civil rights attorney
one of
because
the things you should do is consider talking to someone, because you've said a couple of things that, if true, may have violated your civil rights and may be a basis to reverse everything.
I have spoke with the governor's office. I actually have an email from them stating that they cannot help me in my case. That they was
That's
told
true.
by DHS that if I wanted help, that I was to seek legal assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the main problem. Um, you know, I don't know if you remember this from high school civics, but there are three forms of government that we have. We have the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. So
Correct.
something happened to you in the judicial uh, part of our government, but you went to the governor who's in the executive branch. Now, theoretically, the governor can't do anything for you in the judicial branch.
Well, okay, so that goes back to okay, so when my kids was placed in the foster care or whatever, I was never gave a chance to be a parent. I've never had the first drug test, anything from CPS. They've never gave me a drug test. They never came to my home, anything. It was straight to, we're taking your kids and we're placing them with your sister. I have my case file. It's 378 pages long. And oh my gosh, the things that I read in there that my sister and my mom said about me, they kill me. I mean, they literally kill me,
Mm-hmm.
but I still love them with all my heart because that's family. But I could never ever do my sister the way that she's done me. I could never in a million years. And being a victim of foster care, I don't understand her motive behind this, but I still love her. I forgive her. I forgave her when she done it. I wish she would talk to me. I wish she would let me see my kids. Uh, I wish she would quit acting like she's against me because that's what it started out to be, that she had to act like she was against me because she was going behind DHS and letting me see my kids.
Yes, that's
My
exactly it. Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I tell you, whenever I got back from rehab, I got to spend the first 2 days with my kids. I haven't seen them since.
Mm.
I haven't seen them since. I try to contact my dad all the time and just to ask, how are my kids doing?
Mm.
And I get blocked on every single number. After his advice to me was I needed to go see a shrink first,
Mm.
and that I needed to move along with my life as if my children were dead.
Holy
Why?
smokes.
That's how y'all done me.
Mm. That seems to be a lot what goes on in these cases too. It seems like your family's there to help you at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the lines, I don't know whether it comes into play that they start getting a little bit of that greenery that the state starts giving them. And then that's kind of in a sense, it's buying and selling your kid or bribery or whatever. The same situation happened to someone I know where their cousin, they were best. Hey, listen, let's just get DHS out of our lives. Everything's going to be this, that, and the other. And over
Yeah.
about a 6 month period of time, it went from they were best friends to no talking, stay out of our life. We're going to take this child and don't ever talk to us again. Parents, nobody talks. Been in the family for 50 years. The mothers aren't talking to each other. It's crazy. It's crazy that these caseworkers or whomever they plant this. Who knows what they tell one another because you never get to hear it. You don't get to know if they're saying, hey, they're doing this and this and this. They're not even like, I know, for instance, in our situation, they were telling these people that we weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing in our case, like for what they were asking and all these things, which was an absolute lie. And we know that for a fact because we got that in an email and we're like, whoa, 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 whoa. But they didn't want to hear anymore because obviously they were being flooded with so much, that it's just crazy. And it's crazy there's how do you stop this, Mr. Davis? I know you can't because
Your
it's
health
hearsay, it's this, it's that, but there's so much of this caca from the mouth that comes out into these from these caseworkers to the families. Like there's got to be something that can be done. I mean, I know we're working on it towards the legislation and working, the groups from the states and all that. But I mean, in a courtroom, is there anything? I mean, even if you have proof, perjury is a darn hard thing to prove, right? Like there's a lot of things that go. That's not like you can just say she lied about me and come in and hey, it's perjury. I mean, there's like a couple, it has to be done in a courtroom that makes something against the decision had to be based on that, right? Or some sort of complicated legal
well,
jungle that goes with it.
I
But
got investigation file, which is the one you have to pay for, and then I got my case file. I actually got my stuff from DCFS directly. On my investigation file, it states that it's exempt and unsubstantiated or unsubstantial. Well, I called them and I asked them, I said, what is y'all's legal definition of that? And they said, meaning it's not true or they didn't have enough evidence to take it before a judge. I was like, oh, really? Well, they took it in front of a judge, terminated my parental rights and adopted my kids out in less than a year.
oh yeah, that's fast too. Wow,
Fast is not the word.
that's yeah, wow, it's crazy. They're getting out of. Do you mind like? So you say that nothing happened to you. So this was all family brought on that they came in. So all they had was allegations against you.
Yes, they took my newborn from the hospital, and I had a 2-year-old, which he's 3 now. Um, he was still with me. There's a 2.5 week gap in between when they got my newborn and when they got my 2-year-old.
Okay.
How they got my 2-year-old was they came to who I call my father, who I look up to as a dad. They came to his house, which I don't reside here. He broke his leg at work. He was staying at his parents' house. I was just coming by to check the mail. Well, DHS and the police came here. Okay, I greeted him at the door. It stated in the court order. I greeted him at the door and told him I would feel comfortable if I spoke with an attorney before I spoke with them. And I was like, you see my son, you see he's not in immediate danger. Well, about an hour and a half later, we're going back home. We lived in Little Rock. I had my apartment in Little Rock and everything. And as I'm leaving, and I get about half a mile down the road, pulled over. And I get detained. I get my cell phone snatched out of my hand. I get detained. And I get thrown in the back of the police truck. And a minute later, DHS pulls up and takes my son and everything that belongs to my son out of my vehicle. And my son's screaming for his mom, and all I can do is just cry and say, my son. I didn't want to act a fool. I wasn't going to act a fool. I don't want my children to be scared of me.
Right.
But that has traumatized me. I don't wish it upon no parent.
None of it do you wish upon any parent, for sure.
No parent. But I know what it's done to me. So I can't imagine what it's doing to my son on a daily basis.
Hey, how are you holding in there with your? Well, I don't want you to answer that on live TV, but you're doing well. You're doing well, and I hope that you are. I hope that you're staying strong for yourself.
I'm just here, really. I'm here. I mean, any parent that can just go on with their lives as if, they didn't have kids,
Mm-hmm.
that's not normal to me.
No.
That's not normal at all to me. And I'm not going to be fine. And I'm not
Right.
going to progress until I have what I'm supposed to have, and that's my children. I'm supposed to be raising my children, but my son's being told I'm missing.
Yeah.
And that just lets me know, that he thinks about me like I think about him. I mean, our bond is unbreakable. I know that. But they don't think about the kid's best interest at all.
Nope. They They know, and you know what? I feel the same way. Until the last breath that's out of my lungs, that'll be when I stop trying to fight for my child. And that's it. And for people to tell me to move on, get over it, this, that, or the other. And they wouldn't do that if the child was deceased, because no one tells a person that they've lost their child to death. So they don't say, get over it. None of that happens. It's a tough spot to be in, to have DHS come into your life, destroy your life, flip you upside down. You get looked on as a worthless person by everybody that comes along. You've lost your kid. You must have been a terrible, terrible person. Like you went to rehab. So what did they do? They broke the rule number one when you're trying to recover as an addict or whatever you were, and that's your support. Your support is the number one most important thing that you have in recovery, and they remove that from you. So how are you not supposed to just come out and be like, don't answer that if you did or not? But like they've removed all of these things from you, and it's disgusting that they can do this, and you really feel isolated. You feel like you're on your own, and all you have is your child, and you damned if you want your child to ever think that you were left. Like I leave, messages on Twitter every day. My daughter's only 6, but I leave messages every day to her because, that way she'll be able to look back and say, you know what, Daddy and Mommy were fighting for me that whole time. There's little things that you can do that don't make it any easier, that don't help at all. But, it's kind of if it ever comes that time that you need to prove yourself or your worth, at least you can have those behind, like that's things that you can do.
Well, after my sister had my children the first month, she calls DHS and she says, "Come get these kids. I can't handle them." And she can't handle me harassing her. Now, I should be at her doorstep every day harassing her about my children, but I'm not. And I won't, because that's what they want me to do. So they can criminally charge me for that. But she calls them, tells DHS, come get them. So DHS goes and gets them. My kids get placed into a foster home for 8 months. And I don't know where they're at. I don't know what's going on with them. That's when the state senator of Arkansas got involved. And my son came to visitation with a black eye. And I don't know where he's at. Keep that in mind. I don't know who the foster parents are or nothing like that. I just see a big black eye and I'm like hysterical about it. Well, there was a big scene. It was Easter weekend. And it was a big scene caused in Little Rock DHS office. I actually have it recorded, the social worker. She accused me of hitting her. And I didn't hit the woman. I'm not going to hit a social worker in front of my children. But she gets the police called out there, whatever, and makes a police report, and they let me go. But she said that I was mentally unstable, Well, if I was mentally unstable, why would the police let me go, first of all? But that right there cuts my visitation. I don't get visitation no more. I get to see him on camera. But I'm calling the child abuse hotline on the foster parents because I don't know what's going on. All I know is my son has a big black eye. And I know the foster parents will now. And I wish I'd have never made that call because, no, my son wasn't being abused. Them are two of my number one supporters besides, my dad, Brett. Is the foster family. They cannot believe that the United States of America operate the way that they do, that they do things the way that they do. They just can't believe it because they're not American. They're not from here. And my kids were actually in a safe environment. My kids were fine. They was being raised correctly. And there's nothing like the foster mom. She tells me all the time, be strong, Nicole. You got to be strong. Your boys deserve to know the truth. And I feel like I can't be any stronger. I don't want to be any stronger. I just want my old life back. I want my kids.
Oh, we all do. And you know what? just when you're feeling like you're by yourself, just know that there's a bunch of us just like you that are having those same feelings, those same pains, those same everything out there. So you're not alone. By far, you're not alone.
But what are we going to do about it?
Well, we're working on it. That's, we're just trying to figure out the best routes. And, Mr. Davis has got the legislation thing that we're trying to, get and infiltrate some things into the Congress and trying to fight it that way. I mean, we're just fight. All
Well,
we can do
the
is fight.
senator
Nicole,
and
Nicole, can you hear me? Well, I guess that answers that.
Whew. Thought you were getting ready to ask her to run the Illinois.
Well, she wasn't Illinois. Remember, she's Arkansas.
Oh yeah, Arkansas. Yeah, the Clinton fund.
Hey, Grace, get in touch with this guest and find out if she wants to run the Arkansas branch of our political movement to change the laws. Okay. Hey, we were at the end of the show anyway. Darren,
Hey, thanks for coming today, Mr. Davis. That was great.
Thank you for being on today. And everyone watching, thank you for listening and watching. We will be on tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll see everybody then. Good night.